A radical Islamist who is
This is a religion in crisis around the world.
Islamist separatism.
Pardon, monsieur.
Assalamu alaikum, what's going on everybody? Emmanuel Macron, the president of France. Yeah, that's as far as I'm gonna take that French accent. The president of France is getting ready for another election season. And of course, what does every single politician who are afraid that they might be down on the polls do? They attack Islam. In this video, I will discuss three main things. First, I will respond to the statements and claims made by the French President Emmanuel Macron in his speech. Then, I'm going to tackle the idea of radical Islam. Finally, I will debunk his statements on Islam in crisis. So let's get started. Number one. A new bill is being proposed called the Anti-Separatism bill. Let's go to the news coverage.
And Mark, some of the notable parts of the bill that I picked up on there: a ban on homeschooling for children except in the cases of severe health problems.
Hold up, we're like 3 seconds into this and we're already just canceling out homeschooling? I know there are people, not that many, but a few people who do homeschool their kids. Amongst them are some Muslims. Either they homeschool their kids because they don't like the curriculum, or because their daughter, for example, is not allowed to wear a religious headscarf. And then these homeschooled kids still end up going to the finest universities and getting good jobs. But of course, this is more of an integration process. I mean, I was never homeschooled and personally I'd never want to be, but to take that option away from people, we're not off to a great start.
The words are very important.
Habibi, we know how words work.
The problem is what he described as Islamist separatism.
Oh yes. Can you smell the votes?
As a secretive plot by some radical Islamists who is feeding this separatism, not stigmatize the Muslim community. Islamist separatism.
Hold up. Let me dissect that quickly. So you're saying we don't want to stigmatize Muslims, but you're also saying radical Islam is the problem.
A radical Islamist who is feeding this separatism, Islamist separatism.
But yes, not to stigmatize the Muslims or anything. Again, how delicate is this situation?
It's a very difficult issue, a sensitive issue,
because there's at least 5 million Muslims in France, and this is going to put a target on their back because your campaign slogan to get reelected is Islam is the enemy.
People's attitude in public transportation, or when they go to a swimming pool, or when they go to the doctor. Obviously, he's saying, women refusing to shake hands or to share a swimming pool with men or so on. He said, we'll give the prefects in the regions a possibility really to suspend some decision by municipalities to allow separate times for women in swimming pools and so on. He said, if we feel this is essentially feeding this separatism, will ask the prefect to suspend the measures allowing different hours, for instance, in swimming.
Wait. Are you okay? I'm sorry. I don't think I heard that correctly. Can we hear that again?
Saying, women refusing to shake hands or to share a swimming pool with men, separate times for women in swimming pools and so on. Feeding this separatism.
Let me get this straight. A woman, let's assume a professional woman with a business commerce degree and a master's degree, who is trilingual. She works in an accounting firm, she does her job very well, she pays her taxes, and she contributes to society. A fine citizen. But she does not want to have physical contact with a man who is not her husband in the workplace. That makes her a radical? That makes her a separatist? Then that same woman wants to go swimming in a pool on a weekend, to relax and whatever. I don't know the woman, I don't know why she wants to swim. But she doesn't feel comfortable swimming with 50 other random men, looking at her from head to toe, judging her. She a 5, a 7, she a 10. So she doesn't want to deal with any of that, so she decides to go during the women's only hour. That makes her a radical and a separatist? Have we learned nothing from the Harvey Weinstein scandals? Have we learned nothing from the sexual assault and sexual harassment cases in the corporate world? How about the fact that France in 2018 alone saw sexual harassment skyrocket by 20% and rape claims increase by 17%? Yet you're telling those women, if they don't like being touched by weird men in the workplace, and they don't like bouncing off weird men in the swimming pool, then these women are in fact radical and they don't support French values.
He said the problem is not secularism in France. He said this is our values, this is not the problem.
Maybe we all need to have a seat and rethink, what are these values?
It's a very difficult issue. He didn't want to essentially call out people.
Yeah, you won't mention anyone by name. Just Muslims.
He said there are many associations that can be set up very easily. He said we need more control exactly about what they're doing, where the money is coming from, and we'll have them sign essentially a chart whereby they will claim that they abide by the laws of the Republic.
Hold up. You're telling me these measures aren't already in place? As an auditor, we make sure that any entities that we audit do have some sort of anti-money laundering and anti-terrorist financing policies in place. I would expect you already have this. But if you don't, bruh, women not shaking hands in the workplace might be the least of your issues. Or maybe they are in place, but you felt the need to further elaborate this message so you can fearmonger and scare people into voting for you. Because everybody will be afraid that the terrorists are funding the swimming pool next door that allows women to swim in certain hours of the day.
He denounced women in full veil tending to children. So
A Muslim woman in a headscarf or a face cover is so dangerous when it comes to dealing with children. Yet a teacher wearing a face mask because of COVID in the presence of children is completely different.
It's an issue of radical Islam that we've seen in other countries through terrorism.
Yeah, for sure, terrorism. Unlike the identitarians, who are a far-right white supremacist group across Europe and originated in France, they are labeled an extremist group in Germany, and they also had multiple members being arrested by police for crimes, and that movement also has some ties to French political parties, like France's National Rally Party. But let's not talk about that. Back to Islam. Oh, wait, before I forget. Maybe what the French president was talking about was in the not too distant past.
Colonial past, not being addressed head on. And
he may have been referring to the French colonial powers when they were in Algeria, when they killed over 1 million Algerians. Let me say this again for the people in the back with their fingers in their ears. 1 million Algerians, if not more. Now, if that's not terrorism, then I'm pretty sure we're looking at two completely different definitions.
And he said, I'm going to announce a very radical measure.
Oh, the president is now taking radical action. Is he a Muslim?
Going to school, but not to some music classes, for instances.
Music? Really? Is that how low we're going? If you don't like music, you're a terrorist. Or terrorist. I assume that's how you pronounce it, right? I mean,
terrorist.
Yeah, I got that one right.
We need to fight this. We also need to ensure that private schools should be monitored.
All right. Obviously, this bill's main purpose is to target Muslims. Let's just call it for what it really is. It's the anti-Muslim bill. Just be straight up with it.
Some people might be somewhat offended by that.
Yeah, like 5 million Muslims in France and 2 billion Muslims worldwide. No biggie.
Yes, but some people also might say, okay, that's true.
Yeah, the far-right people he's trying to get a vote from.
This is going to annoy part of the Muslim community. Obviously, what he's saying today is not going to please everyone.
Oh, it's that obvious, eh? What gave us away? My question is, Mr. President, who are you trying to please?
It's probably going to please people on the right, on the far right, because he will not say so, but he has the 2022 election in sight.
Got it. Any final remarks?
And so it's a very, very difficult line, he admitted.
They keep saying this is a difficult line to walk, yet they keep throwing Muslims under the bus, and absolutely no one else. This takes me to the next segment. Number 2, radical Islam.
Radical Islamist to Islamist separatism.
Let me start off by saying, I'm not pretending that there are no terrorists out there committing crimes in the name of Islam. Of course there are. And guess who hates these people more than anyone? Muslims. Guess who gets killed by these people more than anyone? Muslims. Guess who gets blamed every single time these people commit a terrorist attack in a place like France or in the UK? Guess who gets attacked in the streets and gets targeted all the time? You guessed it. Muslims. Muslims have continuously and endlessly condemned terrorism. We've done it so much it's become a habit, even at work at any given moment. Good morning, Mo. I condemn ISIS. And I acknowledge that what happened at Charlie Hebdo years ago was a terrorist attack.
We've seen it with the Charlie Hebdo trial or the attack last week.
And I condemn it, and Muslims all over the world condemned it and continue to condemn it. And even the most recent stabbing that happened, all of these go against Islam. In our religion, when someone says something bad about you or your religion or you're getting offended by it, our religion doesn't tell us to go and kill them. The Quran says if you're sitting in a gathering and people are disrespecting your religion, your God, your scripture, whatever it is, you do this drastic action. You ready for this? Wait for it. Leave. Here is what the Quran says in this situation.
وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ الَّذِينَ يَخُوضُونَ فِي آيَاتِنَا فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِهِ وَإِمَّا يُنْسِيَنَّكَ الشَّيْطَانُ فَلَا تَقْعُدْ بَعْدَ الذِّكْرَى مَعَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. When someone throws insults at you, insults your religion, insults your prophet, yes, it's offensive, yes, it's disrespectful, but how do you reply? You don't get all emotional and go crazy because that's not what your religion teaches you. The Quran says when this happens, respond in a manner that is best. وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا السَّيِّئَةُ ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم.
In this case, if something offensive or disrespectful happens, yes, you speak out against it. Yes, you can take legal action, but you do things legally.
As a secretive plot by some radical Islamists who...
But unfortunately, for the president to pretend that there's this mass political Islamic movement here to take on and take over French values, and for some reason these are being caused by women who want to swim in the women's only time section and they wear burkinis at the beach. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if Muslims are hell-bent on world domination and taking over all your values, the first thing they're going to do is go to the beach and put on a burkini. And as far as the word integration goes, the moment I hear the words integration or assimilation in any politician's speech, I know we're about to hear some grade A bullshit. Don't get me wrong, I am all for integration. If you live in a country, you should speak its language, be part of the workforce, attend its educational institutions when possible, open businesses, pay taxes, volunteer in local communities, interact with your neighbors and your surroundings, of course. And the majority of Muslims do this all over the world. But that is not your definition of integration. By your definition of integration, you mean take off your hijab, don't ever show us any signs that you're a Muslim, show us your body parts against your will, swim in a bikini, let men drool all over you. Muslim men should shave their beards unless the beard is for style and it's a fashion trend, then respect. Don't pray, don't fast, and pretty much don't do anything you want to do. Do everything we tell you to do because that is freedom. And finally, this takes me to the last segment. Number 3, Islam in crisis.
Which is a huge topic, and I mean, it was interesting to hear him talk about Islam in those terms and just say, you know, this is a religion in crisis around the world.
Emmanuel Macron essentially said, Islam is in crisis all over the world. Macron eventually showed the truth behind his statements. What lies behind all these claims is one simple ingredient: immense ignorance. Mr. President, Islam is a religion. It's been relatively consistent for over 1,000 years. Muslims are human beings who are followers of that religion. Human beings can be good, can be bad, they can make mistakes. Muslims around the world, in numerous countries, are in crisis. That would be a correct statement. But let's add context to that. Are Muslims in crisis because of Islam, or are Muslims in crisis for another reason? Perhaps Islam has been the constant. It's been relatively consistent. Yet the variable may have been, I don't know, let's go out on a limb here and say, foreign occupation. When you look at what has happened and what's currently happening in countries like Iraq, Libya, Syria, Yemen, Palestine, so many more for me to even count, I won't even try to explain to you that there is foreign occupation or Western influence and all those conspiracy theories. How about I let them tell you themselves?
I said, we're going to war with Iraq. Why? He said, I don't know. He said, I guess they don't know what else to do. I said, well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda? He said, no. He says, there's nothing new that way. They've just made the decision to go to war with Iraq. We've got a good military and we can take down governments. And he said, I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
But Macron, you know as well as I do, it's not Islam that's causing these issues. It's the West's obsession with Islam. Let me give you a few points here. Let's start off with the creating of fake propaganda content. All you have to do is search Bell Pottinger, not to mention the West clearly admitting that they have supported groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
And we know that this was growing. We were watching it. We saw that Daesh was growing in strength, and we thought Assad was threatened. We thought, however, we could probably manage, that Assad might then negotiate.
We had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan.
The people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago.
In my 30 years experience of working with these groups, actually on both ways, on both sides, of radical groups and having been involved with them, nearly always standing behind radical groups has been a state actor or an intelligence service of a state actor. For all these decades since, we have been using Wahhabism in its radicalized form in order to pursue Western interests. So we've had this deep ambivalence in Western policy, where we're both in bed with terrorists and fighting them at the same time.
In addition to all this, there's also Uyghur Muslims, whereby China has taken over their land, has forced them into a country whereby the Uyghurs don't even ethnically identify with. And the Chinese government is surveilling them, oppresses them, arrests them, and puts them in concentration camps. I made a video about this if you want to check it out. Then you have the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar. They're constantly subjected to murder, oppression, and there's a mass exodus, all caused by the extremist Buddhist government. Made a video about that as well. And how about India? Islamophobia in India is skyrocketing so high you would think it was a rocket going to the moon, where you have attacks on Muslims in the streets because of the rhetoric and the sentiment being spread by the extremist Hindu government. So you're right, Muslims are in crisis. It's just Islam is not the issue. And before I lose you, I'm not saying Muslims have nothing to do with this. I mean, this all happened under our watch. It is our problem because first of all, it's happening to us. And second of all, we're so divided that we can't do anything. And lastly, there are Muslims who actually benefit from this. They benefit from all this chaos while the rest of the Muslims suffer. But let's not pretend that Islam is the reason they're in crisis. Anyways, if you've hung around this long, I'm just going to end it here. I talked about the anti-separatist bill. I talked about the illusion of radical Islam. I've discussed assimilation and the whole Islam in crisis, and I've tried my best to explain these issues and to the best of my ability show you the holes in their logic. And I truly hope that this video has helped educate people about the various topics and issues happening, and inshallah, I pray that you found this video beneficial. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like and share this video. Support me by subscribing to my channel. And until next time, I'm that Muslim guy. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you.